regarding the Florida Department of Education, the Bureau of Exceptional Education and Student Services. So we're really kind of talking about the K-12 realm of time for students. This session is really to kind of think about what you should be doing or what you could do, as well as what the schools should be doing when there's disagreements. We know they happen in life in all sorts of areas, and that's really what we're going to try to tackle today and give you some tools to be able to walk away from here with that. You know there are resources out there to help you. So who are we? I am Leanne Grelot. I'm a Senior Educational Program Director in that bureau, and my area is dispute resolution and monitoring. I'm going to kind of say that in reverse order. Monitoring is making sure policies and procedures are in place in every single school district, and that districts are following those policies and procedures. If a parent or a person believes that they're not being followed, they have a right to say something about it and handle that by saying, I have a dispute, I believe something's not going right. And there are different ways that we can help and assist you in getting those things resolved. And so that's what my section is doing. We have other team members here with us. Jackie Ramu, she is a director in the same section, dispute resolution and monitoring. Amy Kowalczyk, did I say that right, Amy?
You did.
I always just say Amy. It is with Parent Services in the same bureau regarding supporting parents. And then I have Jennifer Barnhill, who is also a member of my dispute resolution and monitoring team here to assist and help you. So that's a little bit about who we are. I think all four of us happen to also be parents of students with disabilities ourselves. So we actually sit in your spot in our own lives for our own children. All of us are in varying stages of our own child's ages and what level that they're at, but we all actually do walk the walk of a parent of a student with a disability. Some of us also walk the walk of a spouse of somebody with a disability or another family member with disability. So we do have those family experiences to be able to lean on a little bit as we also do this as a living. But we want to know just a little bit about who is here so that we kind of have an idea of who we're presenting to. How many of you in this room, this is your first year ever at Family Cafe? That's nice to see. Welcome. This is my first year at Family Cafe. I've never had actually the opportunity of attending, so I feel really glad to be able to be here and spend time with parents. Who here has had a student with a disability, and I'm talking about K-12 for a moment, so go back just to kindergarten, those of you with older students, and have lived the life of a parent sitting in an IEP meeting for 5 or more years? Okay, I consider you are veterans. You've walked the walk quite a while. Okay, and I know some of you might have been hitting the 10 and 15 year mark depending on how many students you might have had to be in that realm, but welcome. How many of you had to travel over 50 miles to get to this conference? Over 100 miles? 200 miles? Okay, we've got some people that actually traveled quite a way to be here. It's a centrally located area, but we try to make sure parents from all over get the opportunity to attend, and that's including Escambia County way over there in Pensacola, all the way down in the Keys, trying to get our parents able to see what is available to them here. We are here to try to assist you. We'll get through our presentation. We kind of bounce around through all of us to be able to give you information and share. You have comment cards with you. Those, you can feel free to leave your contact information. Sometimes your questions are super personal. It's not that I do not want to answer them, but I also don't want to violate any of your child's rights. I want to keep things private that need to be private. So realize that we would be happy to talk to you on the phone and be able to really get you in contact with the right people. So don't feel you need to bring up something that is so personal at this point in time. I would rather give you the personal attention, or our teams give you the personal attention that you need. It's not that you can't mention them, but I just want you to realize we have an open door. We can talk to you at any point in time. I just want you to know that we are here to answer your questions. So I'm starting with the role of parents, the role of your districts, and the role of the state. What is our role here? So if we think about the big picture, and we all are parents, so what is it and what is our role? Well, your role is to be a member of your IEP team. And those of you with smaller children, we see a tendency for those parents to be involved at a very young age, because it tends to be pretty popular to be involved in the elementary school age. But we do see a decline in parental participation as students age. Well, at about 12 years of age, students don't want us in their lives anyway. So it tends to be that when we start hitting that age, we feel maybe that we're not spending as much time. I might not be speaking to that crowd because you're here right now. But even if you have friends in that situation, remind them, a member of the team, it's a really important place. Supporting the delivery of instruction. Things that you do at home that are not necessarily doing math problems or reading an essay that they wrote, but actually tying your shoes or making sure your clothes match. Any of those things. You are supporting the delivery of the instruction, and we appreciate that. Providing feedback to the school and the teacher on the child's progress. You know your child best. You see things that sometimes other people don't see. And vice versa. Every once in a while the school sees something you don't see, but you giving that feedback, that's a really important piece for you, and a really important piece for them to hear about what's going on to you. And then providing information about what is working and what is not working for the child. Sometimes at home you hear something that's not working, and they need to hear those things, but they also actually need to hear what is working, because they need to know that certain things are making a difference. All of a sudden that behavior chart you're using is actually making a difference, that my child isn't coming home as upset as they used to be. Well, something must be working. They need to hear those things too. District. What is the district's responsibility? It's kind of a big overall picture. Engaging everyone on the IEP team. Making sure everybody has an opportunity to really think and talk about the student that's there. They should be providing specialized instruction and supports to the student. Recognizing that general education is there for everybody. The reason you guys are involved and we are involved is because there's special education needs. So making sure that their specialized instruction and their support is being done for the student. Communicating. Communicating to you. How is the student doing? What is challenging for the student? And having that open communication. And then offering meetings to resolve concerns. Again, this is a big, broad picture. Should they be doing lots of other things? Yes. Trying to snapshot. It really is the school district's responsibility to try to resolve the concerns that are going on for any member of the IEP team, including the parent. So if the speech language pathologist is having concerns, they need to hold a meeting. If the parent is having concerns, they need to hold a meeting. Any member of that team. So an IEP meeting might be the way to handle it. There's one other area that school districts should be thinking about, and that's mediation. Not everything that we have concerns with as parents is revolved in special education, and sometimes it's a mediation to handle it. An IEP team does not decide who is going to be the math teacher that year. But if you have some deep concerns about it, about Mr. Smith being the math teacher, the IEPT isn't going to make the decision. He won't have Mr. Smith. But a mediation or another meeting could be a place that it could be done. And so I say that because while we as parents might think it's revolving around special education, there are other avenues to try to get your concerns resolved. And sometimes it's an IEP and sometimes it isn't. What is our job at the state? Our job is actually to support the districts to continue to improve the quality of instruction they're providing, supporting all districts in that, helping them do that, providing them resources to do so, helping them monitor themselves. While we monitor them broadly, they're the ones that get right down to that student, helping them understand if they did it right or wrong, how they can do it better. And then it is our job at the state to offer ways to resolve your concerns and complaints that are going on between you and the district. We can do this by offering a state paid for facilitator to come to your IEP meeting. It is not a state employee. It's a contract with people who are experts to come and provide you support. And that's kind of a neutral party coming to the table, helping you run that good IEP meeting. We pay for mediators. We will pay for a mediator for you and your school district to work together to figure out the concerns you have. We have a state complaint system. You have a right to file a state complaint and say something that's not going right, and we work with the school districts on resolving that state complaint. And there are due process hearings, meaning you can file a due process and have a judge if they did it right or wrong. A little bit different than a state complaint. State complaint is compliance, kind of a black and white. Due process, the judge can in and weigh it and make some of those decisions. Now I'm going to hand it off to Amy. Talk a little bit about our parent services.
And I'm going to go to this side.
That's okay. Sorry, we're messing you up.
Oh, no, they're on the ball. Okay, so we do have a parent services component of the Bureau. and I'll get a little more into that. As you know, parents who are involved, their children are more successful. All of you know you walk the walk. Higher student achievement. We all want our kids to graduate to be life, community, or career ready. Social competence, low rates of at-risk behavior or adolescents. So kudos to each of you for coming to this conference and being involved. This picture sums it up to me. A parent's job is never easy. Ask for help. Scream for help. You can't do it alone. You all hear it takes a village. You don't know what you don't know. So ask questions, pound the pavement, anything that's necessary to get that answer. So where to start? You can call us at the Bureau. We are always accessible. I should say Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, we are accessible. We serve over 380,000 students in the state of Florida, so we get quite a bit of calls from parents. But there is a program specialist that is assigned to you and talks to you to see how they can assist, if they need to contact the district, to really work out what the issue is. We look at things so that they, not only that we can help you, but solution-based. How can we change this in the future? How can we prevent it? Okay. So mapping it out with resources. This is our website, and I do have some bookmarks that I'll hand out. Now, let me tell you this. Our graphic artist did not do this. I attempted to do it, and you will see this is not my strength, but it does have the website on it and the QR code. For those of you who are tech savvy, you can scan it, and it will take you to the web page. My intentions were good. Not sure about the delivery message there. Okay. How many of you have heard of LRP Special Ed Connect? Anybody? Well, you're an employee. Yeah. Okay. LRP Special Ed Connect is a wonderful resource for parents. Our Bureau pays for it for parents to have access to it. We're really trying to market it. It is just so many resources. It's a national database. You type in, let's say if you want information on ASD, you type that in and then it pulls up articles, school plans, IEP templates, everything you can imagine about ASD. Fiddlers, who's familiar with Fiddlers? Everybody here? Okay. Fiddlers has a booth in the exhibit hall, and they can sign you up for LRP Special Ed Connect. You'll get a password, login information as well. And they actually have trainings, webinars on how to navigate that site, but it is a fantastic resource. So that is available to any parent of a student with disability in Florida, pre-K through 22. Okay. We have many publications on that website. Discretionary projects. As I mentioned, we CERN. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jill, in order to get signed up for that, do we need to do the Fiddler booth, or is that something that we can do on our own?
You can go to our website and I'll show you where it is. It's going to give you a contact person who's a Fiddler's employee. As I mentioned, we serve over 380,000 students in the state of Florida. So we have discretionary projects who are our boots on the ground. They do our work within the districts. That's Fiddlers, that's CAR, the Center for Autism and Related Disabilities, Disorders. Project 10 for transition.
The Florida Instructional Material Center for the Visually Impaired, the Resource Materials and Center for the Deaf, Hard of Hearing. There's I want to say 70 some different projects out there. So.
Yeah, there's many projects. Not all work directly with parents, some work directly with districts, but it's definitely worth going to the website and looking at them for resource information. Dispute resolution, we also have a section on our website about that. Okay, so this is what our website looks like. This is the Bureau of Exceptional Education and Student Services. And it can be challenging to navigate because there's so much information. But when you go to the website, you can look on this side and it will tell you specifically. I mentioned discretionary projects, you would click there. Parent information, you would click there. So lots of great information. There's a website map for those of you who are like me, who are technologically challenged. So that will also map it out for you. Let's see. Okay. Okay, I think I skipped a... Okay, so Fiddlers is our project that specifically has parent services in each district. They provide webinars, for parents, professional development information for parents, and there's a parent liaison on staff that works specifically with students with disabilities and their families. Family Network on Disabilities is the Parent Training and Information Center of Florida. It's a federally funded training center. Each state has one. It's separate from the state of Florida. They're federally funded. And that's Family Network on Disabilities. They offer all types of trainings. They're fantastic. So that's another resource that you'll want to plug into. Facebook Live, Twitter parties, they really make things accessible to parents. Okay, so what are Florida's parents telling us? We have an annual ESE survey. It is a federal requirement to report what pre-K parents are saying and what K-12 parents are saying. So we distribute over 380,000 paper surveys. Parents also have the option to complete the survey online. We have a final report, and it is listed on our website. It's accessible for you to see. Now, as I mentioned, the federal requirement is the state report, but we have delved deeper. We now have district reports, and we have school reports. So you can actually go and look at that report and see how your child's school is rating in satisfaction. The gist of the survey is the percentage of parents who report the school partnered with them. And there's specific questions. It's a Scantron. There's 32 questions. Anybody in here get the survey this year? Okay, great.
Is it everybody gets that survey, or
You should get it. Yeah, it's a dissemination process we provided to the districts, and we try to track them. Yes, ma'am.
is this the survey only for parents or families with children with IEPs, or does that include 504s as well?
IEPs.
Okay. I'm sorry, one other question.
Sure.
The district and school reports that you mentioned, are those available online?
Yes.
So we can look through them?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And there's also, there's a resource guide we have on there that we provide to districts. So it's very interesting information, especially if you're in the PTA or an advisory role. But even as a parent, it's interesting to see what the parents are saying the areas of need are in your district.
And when is the report going to be ready for this?
It will be August. The survey just closed June 8th, so August.
Amy, you might want to mention if she didn't get one, if parents do not get one by March 1st, they should contact their school or the ESE department, because you can go online and fill it out.
Thank
That's
you.
part of what I do.
Yeah, she
So-
works with Fiddler, so
I
she's.
didn't get one because he didn't start till March 11th, so.
Well, so you wouldn't have got a one from the school, but you can always go online and do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So if you've changed schools or something, you can always go online and still do the survey.
Correct. Thank you so much for mentioning that.
You're welcome.
So when it says let me see if I skipped. Okay. So we look at, there's 32 items. The top scoring items are highlighted in that report. So these are the areas that the parents are satisfied with, that they believe the districts are doing a good job. This is the state report. So your district one may look a little different. So culture is respected, evaluation was written in words I can understand, staff are available to speak with me. So areas of need. More information needs to be provided to parents. They want to be connected. They want to know what other services are available. More training about preschool ed needs to be offered, and preschool families want to be connected with one another for mutual support. Now, what we do with these areas of need, we weave them in with our strategic plan and work with our discretionary projects. So all these are being addressed in a plan of action. So what parents report, we really do use and try to address it through our discretionary projects. Like, for instance, more training. Our Fiddlers now has a webinar, five-part webinar series for parents. So we do listen to those areas and try to target them through our work. Okay, K-12 successes. Written info received was understandable. That to me was a little surprising, because when I look at those procedural safeguards, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is attorney talk, but it's good to see that parents are saying it's understandable. The IEP tells how progress toward goals will be measured. We're doing a good job with that, and that's very important. The data shows if these goals are working. If the data doesn't support the goals, they're not working. Teachers are available to speak with parents. Areas of need. Information on agencies that can assist my child in the transition from school. And that is from, it could be from, 14 through 22. So after graduation, are they life, career, community ready? The school offers parents training about ESE. And as I mentioned, Fiddlers has created a new webinar for parents. K-12 parents reported that they were offered special assistance so they could participate in the IEP meeting. For example, my son has a 504 plan. He's in high school. My youngest, who's 3, was sick, so we had to take him with us. The administrative assistant took my 3-year-old and walked him around the school and entertained him because it would have been a distraction. So they did offer special assistance. Sometimes it looks like bus fare, transportation, but something the district can do to ensure that that parent is able to make the meeting. Okay, any questions about parent services before we move on? I believe I mentioned we're always accessible by phone, and you'll be assigned to a parent program specialist who will address your concerns.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So, in the midst of all of this, sometimes we do find that there are conflicts do occur, or there are disagreements. So when disagreement happen, we are looking what is the best and easy way to manage that conflict. And sometimes our parents may think that there's not a way, if I'm at a school and I'm here at a meeting, that's what it said, that's what I have to accept, and it's not necessarily the case. There are other ways in that we could address this. First, we want to look at how first we can prevent it, and we're going to talk about disagreement occurs at the local level and what you can do there. So let's kind of picture it. We are at an IEP team meeting was held. Services were recommended. Pull-out service for one-on-one reading instruction, and the parent disagrees, doesn't feel that that will be best for the child, and does not sign the IEP. So, oops, did I?
There you go.
So, that's where we left off. Who do you contact? You disagree. How do you contact them? And what remedies are available to work through this process? And this is at the local level. So parent or advocates, we have a lot of our parents that work with advocates. Sometimes the parent or the advocate visit the school or the district office. You could set up another meeting with the school, or you can contact your district office. You can do that either through a call, or you can do that via email. Usually with our parents that we deal with, we always like to recommend that you do it in some written form. So we encourage you to use a email. Because sometimes you may be dealing not only with one person, they have to pass it on to another or another. And it kind of get lost when we're talking verbally. But having written down kind of lets them know clearly what was your concerns that you had at that point in time. These are some resolution options that are available locally. All of our districts, we have built within them the capacity to provide local facilitated individual IEP, educational IEP. What that means is that we have trained district staff to do a facilitated IEP. What we find out with our facilitated IEP is basically a good business, a kind of good way to have a meeting and making sure that all voices are heard. All of our district has been trained. Some of them has trainers that also train their other staff, whether it's our teachers, different personnel at the local level. And a district might say, well, let's go back to that meeting, but we're gonna have it facilitate through someone else, maybe from a different school or from the district office that comes in and have that IEP meeting. It looks very differently. There will be charts involved, papers where they're taking your concerns, they're writing it, they're posting it so the whole entire team can see the process. Another thing that they can do mediation. Some of our districts locally have the ability within them to say, okay, we can meet through mediation and try to resolve this. or you could file district in complaint, and some district has a grievance process as well at the local level. So these are all locally. Yes, ma'am.
What's the time frame?
For-
For example, if you have a grievance and you want to go through mediation or complain to the district, what is the time span? Is
Now-
it a few weeks? Is it a few months? What's the time span?
And each district, like I said, this is locally at the local level. They have been within them policies and procedures in that process. Some districts has a certain amount of time that they will respond back to you. And they set this process as a way to work in the local, in that district to resolve that issue. So it's gonna base on their process, on how long it would take. If your district has these options available, they will let you know, okay, this is gonna be mediation, we can do that within 2 weeks. Local facilitation, this is how long we can work to get that set up and make those arrangements. But this is totally strictly at the local level. At the state level, which we're gonna get into, we have more specific timelines there that we can give you. Yes, ma'am.
My question is kind of like hers. What's the time frame from after you have, after your IEP? Now
Oh,
you're
you
still
can do
having-
that immediately after.
Okay.
You can pick up, we've had parents that walked out and they immediately, you can call your ESC director. You can shoot an email off to your ESC director. Some parents immediately as they walk out the IEP, they contact the state office as well.
Okay.
Yes.
When you say ESC director, you're talking about the school district ESC director?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, because my ESC school director, like, literally never returned phone calls or emails, so.
And sometimes
have-
we do have, that's our point of contact, and who we work with is our ESC directors. And if that's a situation where you're saying that you're not getting any responses back, you by Showell can contact us and we will assist you with that. So throughout all of this process, you're not, like Amy said, you're not alone. We're here to help you. But sometimes it seems like you said, I contacted the ESC director. I've talked to them, and we're not getting anywhere. So what is your next step? So this is looking to us at the state level. So we try to resolve it locally. It's not happening. At a state level, these are the things that we can do to help assist you in resolving that conflict. We could also offer state-sponsored facilitated IEP. We can offer mediation. We also now have our state complaint as well as due process. Now, these three are part of your administrative remedies that's in your procedural safeguard. You, by all means, have a right to do any one of those three or all of the three at the same time. That's part of your protection. Our state-sponsored facilitation, that is where it's really a breakdown at the IEP team meeting. And the IEP team meeting needs to continue so we can resolve this. We have an independent contractor, which is a state facilitator, that comes in and facilitate the management of that IEP team meeting in order for us to have a completed IEP developed at the end so we could implement those services and support for our students. Yes, ma'am.
So that person would come from wherever they are into your local,
Correct.
we wouldn't have to go somewhere else?
No, ma'am. We come to you, and like I said, this state sponsor, what happens is that you can request state sponsor facilitator, or a district has said, we need a state sponsor facilitator. We've tried it, and we really do need an outside party to come on in and help assist us. And it's at no cost to the parent or the districts. And at the state level, we will work out the logistics with the district and the parent on a date and a time for us to have that meeting. Thank you so much. She was hinting to me, both parties has to agree. That's the only way that we can do this. Both parties has to agree.
And by both parties, you mean the ESC team at the school level? Or
Meaning the
level
district and the
district has to
parent.
approve it.
So for example, we have, district said, we would like for someone to come in. Parents said, no, we don't need that. We can't do it. Or the vice versa.
And if a parent wants it and the district does not, then what happens?
We have seen very seldomly that occurs. I had that once, and we were able to talk with our district and talk with the parents and continue to mediate that process until we could get them back to the IEP team, because truly it was an IEP team meeting that had to occur in order for us to have the supports in place for the student. It really came back that I need you guys to meet at an IEP team. And the district that's what we needed to do. We had to work with them, and we'll continue to work with them until we find some type of resolution.
Wait, go back for a second.
Oh,
I just want to,
stay-
there's an email at the bottom
Oh, sorry.
to exercise any of those minus due process, so just hold on for that one. State-sponsored facilitation, mediation, or state complaint, you can utilize that email address to send us those or to ask questions about those. And the forms are online to be able to complete those. You do not have to use our sample forms, but they're there to make it so that you have all the completed parts. For due process, you file that with your district and send us a copy of what you file with them. When you file it with the district, it is the district's responsibility to file that with the due process, the Department of Administrative Hearings, the courts. It's their job to file it with the court. You just have to send it to both locations. You can choose to send a copy to these complaints, but I just wanted to let you know they're the ones, the districts are the ones to handle it.
We
So when you say file the due process with the district, it's like who in the district, where would you send that to?
I would suggest two different people depending on how large your district is. The ESE director, the special education director, and or the superintendent. Some small districts, your superintendent's the easiest person to send it to, but those would be the two people I would recommend.
Thank you.
Yes,
And
sir.
after you file that due process, the bureau is no longer able to assist you. Like if you call, you cannot talk to, if you're calling about, you filed a due process about transportation, just throwing that out there, and you call the bureau again, we can no longer assist you with that because it's in due process.
It becomes now a legal, it's a legal issue,
We're not
and we're not attorneys, and so we can't advise or anything like that. Yes, sir.
How does this process apply to publicly funded charter schools?
Same.
Is it really?
Yes, because our charter school is a
Public school.
public school. So it's the exact same thing. So I want to go back here. With a state complaint, with our mediation, we're talking about timeframes. We could probably get a mediator scheduled within 2 weeks. With our state complaint, our timeline, if you file a state complaint, is 60 days from beginning to investigation. We have to issue a report within 60 days.
Is that school days or weekends included?
Everything.
Weekends include, it's
Calendar
60
days.
days,
Calendar
calendar
days.
days. Now, in the state complaint, our guidance from OSEP says that a district can propose a resolution to the state complaint, or we can do a formal investigation. If the district proposed, the proposal is made to the state agency. So when we're looking at a proposal, we have a state complaint, and the district has proposed, we're looking at how do we make the child whole? How can we prevent this from ever happening again? So it would have to address those things then. A formal written report will be, we go through the total investigation process, and at the end, you will see whether or not there is a finding of noncompliance or whether or not the district was compliant. If the district was compliant, there's no findings. If there's a finding of noncompliance, they violated something, let's say the implementing of the IEP, then we're gonna look at how we can make it whole for the child. There might be compensatory services, or there will be training that is so we can show that this does not happen again.
But you can't enforce it, can you?
We do monitor it, and we are
You monitor
required.
it, but you can't enforce it.
We
made
do
state complaints,
monitor-
And they told us that they can only suggest to the county what to do, that you can't enforce them or make them do anything.
In order for us, if we have a written report and there's a finding, it's a finding, and we have to monitor it and close it totally out. If we cannot say, oh, there was a finding and we turn our back and not do anything. We have to. And
You
if
have to
they're
tell
not
them or
doing what they're
suggest something.
supposed to, we have to then step in and provide guidance and support and say this needs to be completed. And we've done that in numerous cases where there was a violation, the child needed to be made whole, and they weren't making the child whole. And we told them, this is what you need to do. We continue to work with them until they made that
That's
child
what I
whole.
mean, is you told them what needed to be done, but you can't enforce and make them do anything. Right?
They have 365 days from an order letter to complete their activity. If they do not complete the thing, let's say they had to do a training, but that was what was ordered. You must train 5 people. I'm making this up, I have no clue. The district by law has 365 days in which to complete that training that was ordered. If they do not comply with the 365 days, it's considered another finding of noncompliance against the district.
Correct.
Meaning you had 1 year to do it, and you didn't do it. That finding is actually written inside their district determination. So districts are determined on a number of different standards on how they comply with all sorts of things. This is one of them, fixing their noncompliance. They could lose the point for being compliant in that respect.
Okay, so let's say they don't comply in 365 days, then what do you do?
So they would, statistically, they'd lose that point, which could change their determination. Depending on how many times this occurs, it is tied to their IDEA funding. And in the end, a district could technically lose
Okay,
their
but there's
IDEA
nothing
funds.
you really can do to settle that case. You just take points away or do this or that, but you can't really enforce what the parent was complaining about.
If we have a finding, we have a level of responsibility in which we need to. If a parent believes that this isn't being done, that's where your due process rights can come in, and a judge can order it.
Correct.
So it kind of depends on what level of noncompliance a parent believes is happening. If you believe the state is not compliant, you have a right to take the state to due process. You have a right to file a state against the complaint. You have the right to file a claim against the state.
Is there a way to look up what places there's been determination of noncompliance and we can see specifically what they are?
On the special education website that Amy was showing you, under dispute resolution, you can see all final orders from due processes, and you can see all final state complaint. These are redacted, meaning we have pulled identifiable information out of them. We have to, that's a purple violation if we don't. So realize that you aren't seeing a complete report because we can't show you it.
But you see the district.
But you can see the district's name, you can see what they were ordered to complete or fix, so it does give you information specifically.
Is that the BEESS website? Is that
It
what
is
you're
the
talking about?
FLDOE.org. And if at the very top bar in search you put dispute resolution, it will pull up our page.
It's a little confusing to me why why 365 days is a time frame for compliance on something.
It's a federal requirement. You have to talk to IDEA and.
I mean, that's literally crazy. So if you've got a child that's going through some issue, the school has an entire year or that district to resolve it. They still don't resolve it because they just get points taken away like their brownie points. And in the meantime, the children are the ones that are passing through the school system and not getting what they need.
So again,
and there's no enforcement, for no one can enforce anything?
if someone asks me what their level of timeline is, I'm giving you what the federal government tells me. That is the federal government timeline. So I'm giving you federal government. Do I want it happening sooner? Yes. I'm not saying that I don't want it to happen sooner. And we stay on top of them. Our goal is to continue to look to see them completing this. We don't leave them alone.
I mean, so is there like some point that school or that district or that teacher or that whatever has some repercussions for not making the plan?
There can be. It's dependent on what's going on. So, for example, you mentioned a charter school. There are charter school agreements that can be pulled because a charter school is not doing what they should for special education.
Correct.
So it depends on what level it depends on the where. That's why it's hard for me to give you this one picture. By law, yes, it's 365 days. We have other timelines that we have ordered. So we state you need to hold an IEP meeting within
10 days.
10 days, I'm just saying. I'm looking for that IEP meeting to happen within 10 days. That's what I'm looking for. So in 10 days, I'm asking the district, did you hold the meeting? Show me proof you held the meeting. So we're watching it. We put shorter timelines inside our report to get them to do it. So we're watching them. I just wanted to be honest that the federal government's timeline is 365 days.
I know,
mean,
but, you know, being honest, there's really nothing you can do for the child, and he's got a year to go, then you do this, well, yeah, you can take it further, and it's like, in the meantime, you're thinking, oh, it's gonna get resolved, and it never really does, because we've won 2 or 3 of the state complaints, and nothing ever got resolved.
And I would say if you feel that that avenue is not meeting what you need, that is the level of compliance. I highly suggest due process, because that is the next level, which pulls a judge and honestly lawyers into be who are judging that law, judging that component. That really is your
The
highest
due process, is
form.
that a court, or?
That's court. That is a judge,
Okay.
and in Florida it is a judge. We do not have a
That's
two-tiered
what we
system.
got to, is we just started getting a
So-
lawyer
That's
and
really
requiring
the
a
next
state
stage.
IEP
So-
facilitator.
So
Would
what,
you just recommend doing all of those 3 things at one time?
and that's what,
I have some
yes,
people that do,
and
that
some
meets their
parents
needs.
do,
Yeah.
correct.
Yes.
And you have to, if you could, please understand, this is your administrative remedies. When we're talking about the state complaint, like Leanne was saying, we are judging basically compliance. They comply, they follow the steps that is outlined in the law. When you're talking about a quality decision, that is gonna be your judge to take care of that. When you're talking about personnel issues, that is not something that we can look into. That is a totally separate issue, because I have no authority over district personnel. They are not, many parents think they're hired by the state. They're not hired by the state, they're hired by the district. So we then direct them through the appropriate, whether it's the HR office that the person that they need to talk about that staff, if it's some, or we direct them to our Office of Professional Practice, that can also look into a staff-specific, how a teacher may have acted or behaved, or any personnel within the district. But for us, to be honest with you, we can't look at a personnel, but we can, and what we always do is look at that IEP. That is the thing that we can look at, and we can see did you do what you were supposed to do? And if they haven't done that, then that is a concern for us. And we will work with the family as well as the district to make sure appropriate IEP is developed, because that's the plan that supports what needs to be provided for the student in order for them to be successful. Yes, young lady.
Nobody calls me that either. For the due process, just a follow-up question. If you go that route, who pays for that lawyer? I mean, does the parent have to pay that
A
bill?
parent does not have to have a lawyer ever to enter due process. Due
Correct.
process is free. It should have no charge to you whatsoever. Many parents choose to hire a lawyer because they feel that that would best represent them, but there is no requirement. The court is understandable that a parent might be doing this. They will send you paperwork that is going to look very lawyer-esque. At that point in time, they are trying to do their best to guide you in the process if you haven't done a particular piece right. Districts will more than likely have a lawyer involved. That's what they pay their attorney for. So just realize it is available to you, but there is no requirement for you to hire one. There are advocacy entities out there that do provide this service for low to no cost that are out there and available. There are many advocate agencies here that would be able to point you in the right direction and provide that service. Do know many will not enter into assisting you if you have already filed. Meaning, if you believe you need to file and want help, get your help first, then file. Okay? It has to do with how a lawyer handles paperwork.
Right, and
So-
your exhibit hall here will have some of those law firms, some are federally funded, state funded.
I'm not allowed to advertise for anybody.
No, that's why I'm not saying any names, but as a parent, you do what you need to do, and we understand that.
Is the IEP a legal document?
Yes.
So
Yes, ma'am.
if it's not being followed, that's what you're taking to court, is that correct?
Correct.
It could be that you don't believe the IEP is being followed. It could be you don't believe the IEP is developed right. There's not the right things on it. It could be you didn't identify my student in this way. It could be you didn't identify my student at all.
Let's say it's something simple, like their child's supposed to get speech language therapy and they don't. So that's not, if it's not being fulfilled according to the IEP, then that legal document is not being fulfilled, is that?
You can use
okay.
any of those or all of those or two of those to
At any time.
resolve that.
I'm just trying to understand the
Yes,
legal side of it.
that's correct. You use any, all, one of them, two of them.
As far as something like speech therapy is concerned though, you have to, once the therapist, determines that the child has reached maximum capacity and they're not gonna get any better, they can stop it.
Yeah.
Because
And they
you
go
don't
through
need
a
to keep on doing
process.
it if they're not
Right.
gonna benefit.
That was just
And
like
they
the
have to go
example.
through they have to go through a process for that. So sometimes that process may not be followed appropriately, and a parent can bring that, address that. Yes, ma'am.
I like the scenario on speech, so let's follow up with speech. So let's just say, coincidence, so let's just say on the IEP, it's expressing in writing that speech is not required. We're going to do, let's call, what is it called, language acquisition. But you clearly have a nonverbal child who is also getting speech therapy privately, who's being successful with that outside speech. Why would the school district not reinforce that success by having speech within the school? Instead, what is written on the IEP is speech is not needed. We're going to do language acquisition, and a speech therapist will visit the child once or twice a week to see how the child is doing.
Consult.
And most of that, and I mean,
And that's the reality.
agreed. And looking at it, because we're not there at the IEP team being able to look at all available data on why the team is coming to that decision. The parent can also ask questions why or what data or what information that they're using with to come to that decision. If your parent firmly believe that speech services is something that should be used and we have data to prove privately that it's working, we have seen parents that has taken it to due process, and the judge has the ability to rule in that aspect and said, yes, this is something that also needs to be on the IEP, and will order that the team go back and have that be placed on the IEP. I mean, I've seen it.
But that's only if the parent goes through due process.
But that's why I said this is your administrative remedies.
Right.
When it comes down to that decision making, I'm not able to step in and say, this was wrong, you shouldn't have done that, you should have, or this is right. I'm not able to step in there because I'm not part of the IEP team. There's a reason why we came to that decision, and we need to understand how we got there. So it would be convening the team and talking it through. It's like, why this is working here. And we've seen that teams come back around, have the meeting, say, you know what, Mom, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do it for 30 minutes. In having that conversation, and it's like a give and take, continue working it back and forth until the team in itself says, listen, we're gonna be the IEP team, where you're a part of the IEP team. And sometimes we do see that back and forth
No,
struggle.
not in IEP meetings, no.
Yes, ma'am, I have it in mind. I have it in mind. Seriously, and I had it with speech, and I had to go back and forth until we literally come to, I mean, it was what I could live with and what I said, okay, we were kind of meeting halfway, and I could live with that. Yes, it's a struggle, but did I have to go back and forth several times on that? Yes, I did.
If you really believe your child should have something, and you've gone through the meeting, and you've asked, I want 3 hours of speech language therapy, and they're only giving me a half hour.
If at all.
If at all. You ask and make sure you receive a notice of refusal. A notice of refusal is a legal requirement.
Wait, I've never heard of that one. A notice of refusal?
A notice of refusal, if you are stating you want something, and during the meeting you have still come to the conclusion that you do not, written notice, prior written notice, and
Most
prior
districts.
written notice, it's the same thing. It has to have certain pieces on it. It has to say what they are doing or saying they're not going to do, because sometimes it's the reverse. Why they came to that decision, what they used to come to that decision. They have to give you procedural safeguards. They have to tell you who can help you understand your procedural safeguards. So there's like this multi-step process. Sometimes it's written into your IEP. Sometimes it's a separate document. There's no law that says it has to be a separate document, so that's why I'm warning you, it could be in your IEP. That is your procedural safeguards. But what that does just so you know, it says if you said I want something and they said no, they are giving you a notice that gives all this information, that gives you the power to go to court. If you tell me the district said this, and I said I want this, and the district said no, and you filed a state complaint, I, at the state, am only looking for a written notice. So it's the only requirement I would have been in violation of.
So
Because
the
I
second
can't
you
order.
say, can you document that refusal in the minutes?
Yes.
The whole meeting changes, just
Yes.
so you know.
I mean, they will document that you said no. Cause my meeting, I'm not closing it until you document.
Yeah.
Shanika said no.
Me either. If
But
you
my
ask to
question-
document it in the minutes, the whole meeting changes.
Oh, well, I'm not walking out till we write my name on there that says I said no.
I'm just saying, that written notice.
But I've never gotten a written notice.
You need, feel free to ask, it does not have to be done at the meeting, it can be done after the meeting.
But isn't it that a predetermination, they're predetermining the IEP?
After the discussion.
After the discussion, they have to give it.
Yes. They said no in the meeting, so they're then giving you a formal documentation of why they said no.
We can get you, then I notice you.
I know,
have a
pretend that
hand
it
raised.
Doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense when you say prior written notice, but it's called a written notice, but some people say prior written notice.
Yes.
Because of where it is in the law, I'm sorry, blame IDEA.
My question is, since they asked about speech, it wasn't speech, but I asked,
okay, it can be anything.
my question was, my district will not provide, what are they using to come up with their data? Cause you have to show data of, when you stop a service, you need to show regressions in order to re-get that service again. Did they have some form of regression in order to continue that service? Or have you met, or, he has speech and language, but it's for OT and PT, and he's had total whole surgery, but he doesn't need OT and PT, even though he has outside services. So, and in the school system, you need educational relevance, correct? So my district will not provide me with educational relevance. What is educational relevance for OT and PT? They have no
It should be
idea.
in the
So they
ST
called their
increase.
supervisor in the middle of the meeting, and the supervisor said, what do you mean? I said, well, don't give me something over the phone. I want documentation that states educational relevance for OT and PT in the I need educational relevance, cause she asked me, what do you do for OT and PT? What do you do in school? Well, you cut, you write, you put things together. He has to get in the desk, carry the book bag, take the notebook out. That's OT and PT combined as educational relevance. So, but she won't provide me the educational relevance because she doesn't have any. She doesn't know what it means for occupational therapy.
So, this is gonna sound simple, and you might have already done it, but I'd rather say it out loud just in case. Have you asked formally, when I say formally, I'm meaning in writing, it's just the best thing to do, put everything in writing, for an occupational therapy evaluation and a physical therapy evaluation?
Yes, I've already had those.
Did both of those evaluations, you came to a team and discussed them?
We discussed it
That's
recently.
okay, that's okay. At that point in time, do you feel that those OT and or PT evaluations were an accurate picture of your child?
No, because
Hold on, that's what I wanted to hear. No, that's fine. You have a right to ask for an independent educational evaluation at that point in time. If
so
you
ask for an
believe-
independent one.
Yes,
District pays.
the district
But
pays
if
for an
you've gotten
independent.
those and they say the
What- I'm
services
sorry, what
are
was that
needed
called
and you go
again?
back
Okay,
and
hold on, hold on, hold on. We're gonna- hold on.
Independent.
So, you have a test, it's called an independent educational evaluation.
Okay, so
For the area of need. They're supposed to pay for it, it's independent, they're supposed to give you a list of providers that will accept the payment of the school district, because the school district's paying for it, and meet the criteria that the school district looks for. This is why they're giving you a list of people to help know that who will pay for it for them. That evaluation gets done, you bring it to the table to have a discussion again. Again, you are to review that information. Does that mean they have to accept what's on that? No, I'm being honest with you, no. But, again, you now have two references, and hopefully your independent evaluation is giving you the picture that you believe is your child.
well,
I don't know
technically,
yet until you get it.
well, what happened was he actually was in the hospital, so you have to get anybody. It's rehab, and it's a different county. We just crossed the bridge, so he had the evaluation done there, and then the next day we were back at home. say you had the evaluation done in the next, in our county,
By the school district.
by the school district, but he also had it done by the school district in the next county, because we were in the hospital. And so they're saying, here, this is what he needs every time he comes to our rehab here in Hillsborough County. But as soon as I took him back home, they said, oh no, we can't, no, that's not educational relevance, even though both of them are coming from the school district.
So I suggest, Carly, that if they're saying no, you get that in writing, and why they're saying no and what they're using.
Okay.
I get stuck because people will file a complaint, and I completely understand the struggle, but I'm stuck with, did they provide you written notice? So what I'm going to make them do is provide you written notice. Again, if you really believe your child needs something, and you have evidence to show your child needs something, that is why you have your procedural safeguards. You do have a right to take them to due process. You really do.
She just touched on something that's on that slide. I was just hoping you would get to it before the end.
Okay, we're
Transferring
trying.
students between districts.
Okay.
So like a kid who's getting public education in one school district in this state, then he moves to the next district and they don't offer it, but 30 minutes on the other side of the county line they do. So I just wanted to, I hope
Okay,
you would
okay,
touch
let's,
on that.
really,
Sorry.
transferring students between school districts. Let's stay within the state of Florida. That's between districts is what I mean, not states. An IEP in Florida is an IEP in Florida. Your eligibilities should not be changing. Okay, so keep that in mind. Your eligibility should not be changing. If you're visually impaired in one district, you're visually impaired in another district, it's not changing. Okay, we use the same rules in Florida. That's just first and foremost. Eligibilities don't change. Services, until you hold an IEP meeting, need to be comparable. That's not necessarily an IEP meeting. That's you sitting down or a phone call saying, okay, we're moving there. What are we going to do that's comparable until we can hold a meeting and provide educationally what that district says they're going to provide. It does not mean it's going to be an identical matching IEP. Every school district is allowed to review that student and gather information. If you believe the IEP is changing substantially between districts, we had speech 5 times, I keep using speech. We had speech 5 times a week and now we have it none. Are we changing substantially? I highly suggest you ask for an evaluation for the determination of that. Because what evidence are they using to make that decision?
Is it wrong to ask for your child to be not super far, literally, one county touches the other, transportation to stay where they are, getting everything they're getting, because you can't provide it?
If you're transferring counties, the county that is responsible is the one that can say where they're providing it. There are counties that will work together between each other. There are counties that do not work well between each other, and I cannot force them to work with one another.
No, but if the school, like, I'm just gonna Hillsborough and Pinellas, like, literally, like, Pinellas is good, open school choice, fine, great, we don't care if he stays here, but you live in Hillsborough, like, but Hillsborough doesn't wanna offer it, then they should be paying for the transportation to
If you're
Pinellas.
picking school choice, it's on the parent, just like it is for every student. If you're picking school choice,
Or, I guess I'm saying,
for my
like,
non-disabled son, I picked a particular school, it's on me, whether he's disabled or not. That's a part, that then he becomes a general education student, even though he's receiving services. I know, that's the harder one. When you pick school choice, you're walking away from pieces at times.
or not even like school choice, I'm just saying, like, comparable services, like, it's a huge lack of.
That's why I said, if the IEP, your new district is drawing up, ask for evidence, the material they're using to make the decision. What are they using to make that decision?
Okay, what happens around 3rd grade?
What happens around 3rd grade?
All the services just disappear automatically, and he's at 80% intelligibility with speech, and all these different terms that's used, and then there's nothing. Oh, we're going from all of these services to Congo.
Again, for a student to decrease anything on their IEP, there should be evidence that a team is using to make the decision to do that. So you can always ask for a reevaluation to make sure that there is an evaluation that helps determine that. You can use your data from school, but that's what that should be used. There should be using data to make the decision to either increase or decrease anything on the IEP.
But if you're getting a reevaluation, you don't want it done by the same person, they're just gonna keep writing the same thing. How do you ask, I want a different person to do the email?
That's an independent educational
So you
evaluation
have
data
to
set,
skip
i.e.,
independent.
yes. That's what, it is in your believe it or not, it's in that very legalese document called
The one that they try to get you not to read at the beginning. You don't want it, do you? Because you've only been here 10 other times. That's why they quickly put it away.
It is in there. It is in there. That is a
But you
procedure.
can always
They
say,
do not
yes,
have
I
to
want
comply
it.
or agree with the findings of that independent study.
They must consider and discuss it. That's what it says in IDEA. They must consider and discuss it.
And it must be in black and white that they've considered and discussed it and
I
sent
need
it
to be
there.
able to see that, yes.
Okay.
Consider and discuss. I can't make them put it on the IEP. That's what a judge can do. Like I said, I'm limited to, they better give you your written notice to say why they said yes or no. Because I want you to have it in writing why they said yes or no. Because that's what a judge would read. That's what somebody else would read. A judge can weigh, was that the right decision? Was it not the right? That's what a judge does.
To touch on just a moment again for public charter schools. If a charter school point blank says, we've had meetings, multiple meetings, and they say, listen, bottom line is, that's not gonna happen in this school. We're a charter school, we're not gonna provide that service. You can go to your district school.
So, I was gonna say, just to give you the picture, charter schools are part of a district.
Correct.
So your district line must provide anything a child needs. They don't have to provide it at that school. So that's where, in some ways, you might be walking away from a piece because you school choiced to the charter school. And so it does get a little interesting with charter schools because of that.
But I
They
thought the
can't
way the
provide
law
it.
read, though, that the charter school, through the assistance of the district, could provide that. The district should
Depends on
support.
what their contract is. You would have to ask for that charter's contract. Some charters have chosen to accept all responsibility, and some have chosen to not accept any, and it goes back to the district.
This goes back to paraprofessionals, really. It's not
I was
even,
gonna
it's not
say,
even
ask to
services,
see the
but
charter agreement.
paraprofessionals. Yeah,
Ask to see the charter agreement, then you will know what's supposed to be included.
okay.
Does that charter school have to provide the same accommodations?
The charter school has to follow the IEP if the student is in the school. So that means if it's on the IEP, they have to provide the services and accommodations and follow the IEP. If the district, now talking big, says we can't do it at that school, I don't have a behavior specialist that's going to that school, I can't do that, then the district says, but I can offer it over at this school. This is where I can offer it. So that's where it kind of gets wishy-washy. Accommodations, yes. Unless it's some unique accommodation, they can't do it at that school. They don't have the such and such technology at that school. Then again, the district is required to tell you where they can do it.
But if they have the technology, but they say we can't fit it into our curriculum.
No, that doesn't sound right.
Okay.
That doesn't sound right. Anything else? Boy, we went like way off. Way off. Now you have comment, I was gonna say, we're getting close. You have comment cards, you're welcome to put your information, and we will work on contacting you. It might not be one of us, it might be one of us, it might be some of our team members, because we do share the wealth from our comment cards that come in. So I thank you.
And one thing I forgot to mention,